evening, everyone, and welcome to our February 18th, 2020 West Grey Council meeting. We did have the call to order at 6 p.m. because we had an in-camera session. So I have a motion before me, which is moved by Deputy Mayor Hutchinson, seconded by Councillor Hergert. Be it resolved that Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby returns to open session of Council at 7:07 p.m. Any comments, questions, or concern on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Thank you. We are in open session, and I will say that the items that we did go in camera for were the only items that were discussed. Now, I also want to say that Councillor Shay's regrets. We have the balance of council present. We do have a quorum. So we are now in open session, and just to finish off on our matters arising from closed session, we do have a citizen appointment bylaw later in the agenda, and it will be considered under the bylaw section. Okay, I do have a mayor's statement at this point. A 5-year member of the West Grey Police Service died this morning. Our condolences to the family and to the West Grey Service. The Office of the Coroner and the Owen Sound Police Service are investigating. There will be no further comment from the West Grey Police on this matter. So at this time, I'm respectfully asking that you stand, if you're able to, for a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Okay, we are on item 6, which is comment period. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to make a comment germane to our agenda? Okay, thank you very much. So for item 7, public meetings, Clerk, sorry, I'm so used to Clerk Turner. Madam CAO, under item 7, would you please read this statement for us?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Public meetings. Take notice that the Municipality of West Grey will hold a public meeting on Tuesday, March 17th, 2020 at 7:05 p.m. at the Municipality of West Grey Council Chambers, 402-813 Grey Road 4, Durham, Ontario, regarding the new building bylaw with proposals to change the building bylaw and building permit fees under various classes of construction. This public meeting is held to satisfy the requirements of the Ontario Building Code, Act SO 1992 C23, as amended under Section 7 Bylaws, Resolutions, and Regulations. Information regarding the proposed amendments to the building bylaw and permit fees will be made available for pickup at the municipal office as of February 11th at no cost. This information will also be made available on the Municipality of West Grey's website at westgrey.com under public notices.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're now on item 8, which is part 1, consent agenda. I do have a motion before me, moved by Deputy Mayor Hutchinson, seconded by Councillor Hergert. Be it resolved that items A1 to B1 inclusive contained in part 1 consent agenda be adopted as printed, and further that authorization be given for the action to be taken as may be necessary to give effect to the recommendations contained therein. Questions, comments? Councillor Townsend, please.
Yes, on page 2 of the February 6th minutes.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Paragraph down, beginning with questions regarding the bridge study rationale. Fifth line, there was a comment about while the party list focus on which bridge is most likely to have problems the soonest and some structures high, rehabilitation is no longer. My suggestion was that that gets reworded, because I think what they mean is that if the cost of rehabilitation is too high, then rehabilitation is no longer an option. I just wanted that to be clearer. So,
Okay. All right, thank you for that. Is that something that can be achieved for clarity? And would you like the minutes to be brought back?
no,
Okay.
I've already fed the
Okay.
information through, so.
Through you, Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I have made those changes and I had sent the revised agenda to council.
So council has that before them. And is there any questions on that? If we're in agreement, I will put as amended on here.
Right.
Thank you, Councillor Townsend. And is everybody okay? I just want to get a look. Okay, thank you. Councillor Hergert, please.
So on page 24 of the agenda, there's a discussion about the wood design bridge and provincial funding has
Yes.
been approved. I was just hoping that we could emphasize our outstanding needs and grant applications to our Minister of Parliament and our
yes.
local MPP.
Yes, very good. Thank
Thank you.
you. All right, anything further? Councillor Hamilton, please.
Would this be the time to lift the correspondence from Autism Ontario? or
Yeah.
is- Oh, okay.
Yes.
I would please like to lift that correspondence regarding raising a flag on Thursday, April 2nd for Autism Ontario.
Autism Ontario. Okay, I'm going to move that under new business. And Madam CEO, that's the time that we would be getting the two-thirds vote, or did you want that now?
Through Madam Mayor, we can wait until we're at that point in the agenda.
Okay. All right, clear? Anything further? On the motion that I read, does anybody need that reread? I am putting as amended, as you know. All right, well, on the motion, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Thank you. All right. Madam CIO, thank you. So that takes us down to item 9 now, which is part 2, regular agenda. Item 10, communication from mayor and members of council. I'll start and then I will go right over to Councillor Townsend and through the horseshoe, just so you are aware. So I was very pleased to have judged the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 308 Youth Public Speaking Contest. There are some extremely bright youth in our midst. We're very proud of our youth, and this is just one example of that. And I thoroughly enjoyed myself at that event. And a fellow judge is in the audience, and that was Sue Townsend, was also a judge. I do want to say that the draft Grey County Cycling and Trails Master Plan will be presented to Grey County Council Committee of the Whole on February 27, 2020, and there will also be a public information session. I know that would be of particular interest to Councillor Hutchinson. Also, we had a wonderful, successful Frazzlefest weekend, and I know there's much more to speak about. And I also want to say that the county passed the budget as well. So that's all the information and the time that I wish to take on this. Councillor Townsend, please.
Thank you very much. Been a busy couple of weeks again with following the Durham Thundercats, who are doing relatively well. One of the coaches is in the audience, and their series is tied. They'll be back on Sunday if you're interested in going and seeing the playoffs. Also, the Durham Lions held a Wacky Rules curling fundraiser, which you don't follow the rules of curling. It's much more fun that way. Trust me, there was a lot of joking around. Also got to attend the announcement by the Minister of Colleges and Universities up in Owen Sound that announced that nursing degrees are now allowed within a college in 4 years. And you don't have to do 2 years in a college and 2 years in a university. I think that's amazing, and hopefully that'll keep candidates that are currently doing it within our area, and hopefully they'll get employed here, and we'll reduce the shortage of PSWs and nurses in time. Also, Catch Ace is still active for those people that follow it, and if you don't, please do. Also attended 2 business openings on Saturday. They're all both in the same building. One is called Ask a Narrative First, the Mortgage Center, and the other one is the Innovative Office. And it's interesting to see how well they match, and they get along really well. And so stop in and see it if you haven't already, and talk to them. You never know, they'll give you free advice on mortgages, financing, and even help you if you're a small business worrying about answering calls if you can't afford to have your own people. And the other thing I was going to comment on is enjoyed the skating club breakfast. It was, it's always good. We do it every year. And the last thing was the evening with our karaoke family on Sunday evening, or was that Saturday evening? But there's a group of us that do that, and one of the people called up in the last minute and said, why don't you come on out? It was not a nice night from a weather perspective, but it was a great night for singing. So thank you.
Thank you very much for that report. Councillor Herger, please.
Thank you to the 8 and Rec. They put on the snow volleyball tournament this weekend. That was really fun. All the Frazzle Fest activities that we had, family day activities. Thanks for our staff that put a lot of time into it and our volunteers that put an extra lot of time into it. Just following up, there's a library survey that's out that goes until March 1st, and that can be obtained online or at the library. March break is coming up. There's activities through West Grey and the Durham Art Gallery, Launchpad, as well as the library. 812 Air Cadet Squadron is having an effective speaking competition coming up, and yours truly will be a judge. So anyway, we also have the airport meeting. I noticed in our agenda it's not listed. That could have been my error, but from now on we will have third Wednesday of each month, and that's at 2 o'clock out at the airport. And that's it.
Good. Thank you very much for that report. Deputy Mayor, please.
Thank you, Mayor Robinson. There's not much thunder left on the desk, and I want to leave a little bit of meat on the bone for Councillor Hutchison down there with Frazzle Fest. So I was busy out in the community. Lots of going on in Durham this past weekend, again with a couple of openings. So did get over and challenge the cold weather for the snow volleyball. No, I did not participate, but we were out there. So lots going on, and I'll leave the Frazzle Fest for down that way. Thank you.
Thank you for that report. Councillor Hamilton, please.
I will leave some Frazzle Fest for Councillor Hutchison here, but I did really enjoy the weekend here and enjoyed judging the snow sculptures. They were incredible. I was out there with Kathy Byberg. Together we traveled across town. That was really remarkable. Enjoyed the library. We had a table at the arena on Monday, and we had some games for the kids. That was really fun. Really great Frazzle Fest weekend, and lots of family fun activities across West Grey. So thanks to all our volunteers.
Thank you very much for that report. Councillor Hutchinson, please.
Yeah, I'd just like to say it was a very successful weekend for Frazzle Fest. Lots of participation, and thank you to all the volunteers, including Councillor Hamilton, who did some judging. We didn't have a lot of snow sculptures, but the ones we did have were quite well done, and people seemed to enjoy them. A lot of photo opportunities there. Trivia night on Friday night was fairly successful, I think, with raising some money for Arts Fest, almost $500 that helped them with their event. And then Saturday there was seemed to be a number of younger families this year doing the snowman hunt and activities on Main Street on Saturday, which was interesting, that there was a lot of very young families. So that was interesting to see. I believe the Lions family dance was very successful. Didn't make there myself this year, but they usually put on a good event there, and it's well attended. Sunday was sort of a quiet day. We had a few tobogganers and snowshoe people and soccer players, that type of thing. But and the Garifraxa was a good host in a number of those events on the weekend. Monday on Family Day there was lots of skating, road hockey out back. Thanks to the library and the Cody and the recreation, his doing his recreation thing, promoting recreation and the library, so that was good to have them there. And so overall it was a very good weekend. I'd like to thank the West Grey Chamber, Durham BIA, the Lions, and a number of other organizations that got involved to put it on. And I think it was a very successful weekend. So
great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that report. That takes us down to item 11 now, which is delegations. There are none for this particular agenda. Item 12, business arising from the previous meeting. Thank you. Now we're on to item 13, staff reports. The first one that we are dealing with is from the Director of Finance and Treasurer. Director Mighton, is there any statement or presentation at this point before I ask members of council if they have questions?
Just to highlight a couple of the larger expenditures, there's a reduction in the holdback for the payment certificate number 9 for the Bruce Lambton Street project. That's just almost $300,000, and there's a payment in there for the Durham wastewater generator project as well, and it was about $125,000.
Good, thank you very much. Questions, comments? Councillor Townsend?
I have three of them for you, Director Martin. The first one is the voucher 26-2019. All of those costs do go against 2019, and nothing affects the budget in 2020, correct? Correct. Okay, great. The second one was the last comment you had. It was on page 66 of our package, and it said that the payment was 75% of the total. And what I was wondering is, does that mean there's still others outstanding, or do we get lucky and the costs were actually only 75% of the quote?
Are you talking about the holdback payment? Is that what you're referring to?
Is that actually what the holdback payment was?
So it's reducing the payment, the holdback probably down? If they- that
To
is that the-
25%, yeah. It
Yeah.
was, it's on page 4 of your 2019, and it talked about delivery of the generator and automatic transfer switch.
Oh, the generator one?
Yeah,
Okay.
and it says
That's what I mean.
75% of quote, and 25% is normally high for a holdback, I thought, but that's why I just wondered if it was,
And that one wasn't the
better price.
holdback, that was for the project. So we've paid for 75% of
Yeah.
the project. That
So do we
wasn't the
still owe the
holdback. The
25?
payment certificate to reduce the holdback was for the Bruce Lampton project.
okay. So does that mean that there's still 25% outstanding, or it came in
Yes.
cheaper?
No, they're still outstanding.
Okay. And the third one is, 3 pages later, it has to do with hydro for the traffic light. And it might seem very cheap, if you will, but what I was wondering is, that is a county sort of asset, if you will. I would have thought the traffic light they control, they own, et cetera. Do they not? Even though it's to the boundary of the two highways?
So it would be in what they call the connecting link, but it's our responsibility, the county.
So we maintain it, pay for hydro, et cetera. Okay. That was my question. Thank you.
Good, and good questions at that. Further questions? Councillor Hutchinson, please.
I just have a couple questions, and maybe it's more for the Director of Infrastructure. Maybe he can respond. On page 64, it talks about flood control expenses, and I know quite often in the below the lower dam, we bring in the high hose and they take out ice and whatnot. But I'm just curious, they have it at the lower dam, middle dam, and upper dam. So other than maybe removing boards and whatnot, I don't think we don't normally bring high hose in there. But I'm not sure what all that cost. Because for the public, there was one was 11,000, one was 10,000, and one was 5,000. So we're spending a fair bit of money on ice control. Maybe you can comment on that, Director.
Well, we, regulating the flow and so forth through our dams with respect to ice generation and so forth is something that is ongoing. Do you find that you're seeing the costs are?
Well, I just...
It's part of our special levies for any work that the conservation does on the flood control structures. We have 3 in Durham, 1 in Newstead. Whether it's, like you say, replacing boards, new buoy line, those safety buoy lines, anything like that is all charged back to, they apply for a grant, and then the balance is charged back because we are the sole benefiting
Right.
municipality.
So that wouldn't necessarily be a monthly cost, then that would be...
No, that's an
a
annual
key-
cost. They
that's
bill
an
us,
annual-
yeah, for
Okay.
the total cost for the year. And they always bill it at the end of the year once they know for their time, any equipment they brought in, anything like that.
Oh, okay. Because I thought, well, that seemed expensive just for 1 month. But
Yeah,
then-
no, that's an
yeah.
annual. Yeah.
Okay, right. But then when we do get into moving ice out of the lower dam, it does add up, for
Yes,
sure.
if there had been actual frazzle ice
Yeah.
backhoes in there, then yeah, they would
Yeah.
be significantly higher.
I think we've been fortunate so far this year, so
Yes,
hopefully
yeah, so
keep
far.
our fingers crossed.
Yes.
The other one I just wondered about on page 65, just further down, there was a hydro line to the Durham Middle Dam, and it was $3,000. What hydro line did we put in there to the middle dam? It says it's under Recreation Durham Park, but
So I think that was going to the washroom facilities there. Was that?
was it? Did we replace that line?
Did it have hydro in there? I might have to check with Randy to see.
Yeah, I don't know whether it had hydro or not. Maybe it didn't. I'm not sure.
'Cause
We
they
could get a
were-
follow-up to
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Would that be
Yeah.
Good, Councillor?
I know our local artists have been drawing on it, so I noticed that the other day on our middle dam washer.
All right, good to know. Good. Anything further? Thank you. Anything further? Pardon me. All right, I do have a motion before me then regarding this report. Moved by Deputy Mayor Hutchinson, seconded by Councillor Herger. Be it resolved that the Director of Finance and Treasurer be authorized to pay the accounts presented as voucher number 26-2019 and number 2-2020 in the amount of $635,446.00 and $757,757.07, respectively, of the Municipality of West Grey. Questions, comments on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Just give me one moment. Thank you. All right. Thank you. So now we are on the second report of the evening, and this item is from our coordinator in the Office of the CAO. But Madam CAO, do you wish to address it?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is our request for final adoption of the Strategic Vision Plan. I'd like to bring Council's attention to paragraph 3 of the background and discussion. The plan has been out with the community. It's been at this table a few times, and our final time that we were here, there were some small edits that were requested. You'll see in the attachment that those edits have been completed, and I'm proud to present for your consideration the final Strategic Vision Plan.
Excellent report. Any questions, comments? Councillor Townsend, then?
One thing that was commented, I believe, but not in the notes and not changed, had to do with the font color on the title pages of each pillar. One of them is black, 2 of them are white, and that's pillar 2 and pillar 3. And when you have a lighter background, it's harder to see white on like a light blue, et cetera, for people that may have a slight sight disability. And if we made those black, it would be consistent with the rest of the document as well, and also make it easier for people to see. I thought that came up during our discussion.
It did.
So,
it did. Madam CAO, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and Councillor, thank you for that question. We had a deeper contrast for text on the mission vision statement, but those are very minor tweaks that we can do to those pillars, and I will speak with Mr. Zettel tomorrow to see how he can improve that contrast.
yeah, and I don't think it has to be brought back either from that
Thank
minor
you.
change. So
I appreciate that.
That wasn't my intent. So.
I know that. Good, thank you. Anything further? Good. All right, I do have a motion before me. Moved by Deputy Mayor Hutchinson, seconded by Councillor Townsend. Be resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby adopts the Municipality of West Grey 2020 Strategic Vision Plan as amended. On the motion, oh, actually, questions, comments? All right, thank you. On the motion, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? I would like to say this carried unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, we're on to bylaws now. Thank you, Madam CAO, that's great. Okay, we're on item 14, proposed bylaws for second and third reading, of which we have 3 for consideration. First one being proposed bylaw 11-2020. Moved by Councillor Herger, seconded by Councillor Townsend. Be it resolved that bylaw number 11-2020, being a bylaw to establish terms of reference and mandates for certain advisory and local committees of the Corporation of the Municipality of West Grey, here brackets repeals bylaw number 130-2018, end of bracket, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and I will say clerk or
I can sign that, Deputy.
CAO deputy clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation and engrossed in the bylaw book. Questions, comments? Councillor Hutchinson.
I'm just curious why this is come before us again, because we brought this forward before. Were there some changes that we've made that I thought we already passed this at one time.
Madam CAO, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the question, Councillor. There is one key change. We have made an adjustment to what constitutes quorum. In our previous terms of reference, quorum was 50% plus one. In our procedural bylaw, quorum is 50%. So for consistency, we are at 50% for our committees of council as well.
Okay, thank you.
Further?
That was basically the change.
Okay. So on the bylaw, I've changed that to CAO Deputy Clerk.
That's great.
Okay. For the mover, Councillor Hergert, seconder, Councillor Townsend, would that be fine? Thank you. On the motion for the passage of this bylaw, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Okay. And I will be saying CAO Deputy Clerk on the balance of these, so I'll look to the mover and seconder again each time. So proposed bylaw 12-2020, moved by Councillor Hergert, seconded by Councillor Townsend. Be it resolved that bylaw number 12-2020, being a bylaw to appoint citizens to various committees, brackets, repeals bylaw number 100-2019, end of bracket, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and CAO Deputy Clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation and engrossed in the bylaw book. For the mover, Councillor Hergert. For the seconder, Councillor Townsend, are you fine with that change from clerk to CAO Deputy Clerk? Okay. Questions, comments? Councillor Hamilton, please.
Will we be adding some additional names to the list that's here?
Madam CAO.
Thank you for the question, Councillor. And Madam Mayor, I have the new bylaw, and in fact, I believe we may need to make an amendment.
Okay.
We have in the new bylaw, we have appointed, just bear with me for one moment.
Yes,
we
please.
have appointed Elizabeth Murray to the Sustainability Advisory Committee. We have appointed Roger Gannon to the Waste Reduction Subcommittee. However, I believe, and Councillor Hamilton, you can verify, Ms. Murray is interested in also being appointed to the Climate Action Subcommittee. So that would be an amendment to the bylaw before me if Council is in agreement with that.
So on that, would Council be in agreement? I'm looking to my left and to my right, and I will put as amended on this. Mover and seconder? Good. All right, thank you. Any other comments, questions, or concerns on this bylaw? On the motion to pass this bylaw, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Thank you. Oops. Signature. This one here? Yep. Okay, so proposed bylaw 13-2020. All right. Moved by Councillor Hergert, seconded by Councillor Townsend. Be it resolved that bylaw number 13-2020, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the February 18th, 2020 council meeting, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that said bylaw be signed by the mayor and CIO Deputy Clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, engrossed in the bylaw book. Questions? Comments? On the motion to pass the bylaw, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Thank you very much. New business. So we do have two, actually. One is listed on the agenda, and then we do know that Councillor Hamilton also has a new business item that will require 2/3. So I think we'll deal with the notice of motion first, which is on the agenda, and then I'll ask for the vote. So this one, under item 15, new business, notice of motion introduced January 28, 2020 by Councillor Hamilton re additional committee of the whole meetings. So we do have the motion. I will read it, and we'll go from there. Okay, so moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Hutchinson. Whereas members of council are appointed to various committees and boards from which minutes are regularly received for information by council. Whereas members of council are committed to open, transparent, and timely communication. Whereas some members of council have expressed interest in having regular verbal reports and dialogue regarding committee and board activities. Therefore, be it resolved that 3 committee of the whole meetings be added to the 2020 meeting calendar for the purpose of committee, board, Grey County, and conference updates. Councillor Hamilton, would you like to say anything with regard to this?
I think that says it all. I would just like to float out that I think carving out space, our current committee of the whole meetings are jam-packed. It's been difficult to carve out space for these kinds of updates. I think having some sort of dedicated space throughout the year would be predictable, would be efficient for our communication. But I would entertain the idea of not that these just be additional meetings. Perhaps there's a few other meetings that we could reduce throughout the year to make space for these. So perhaps in the summer calendar, we don't need to meet as frequently, or like just what happened over in January and February, we reduced our council meetings as well. So I'm aware that I don't want to just keep adding meetings to our calendar. Maybe there's another space that we could make a small reduction to make space for these. But it was an idea to create space that we could share what's happening at our committee level.
Okay, thank you. As the seconder, Councillor Hutchinson, I'm just extending if you have anything to say at this point.
I would just like to reiterate, I wouldn't be in favor of maybe adding more meetings. I just think because of our budget expenses, the cost of having more meetings, we've had a number of committees. I would like to see us try to revamp some of our meetings so that we do find time for to discuss the boards and the committees that we're on. We used to do that. When our committee of the wholes, we used to take time to go through the different committees that we're on and just do a little report. We have the minutes in our agendas, but a lot of times the minutes might be a month or 2 months old, right? So it's nice to have that monthly report just to keep things up to speed. So I would be in favor of us trying to revamp some things, trying to find some time, looking at all of the other meetings that we have, and just try to work it in without creating more meetings. That would be my suggestions.
Okay, so we're all actively listening here. That was the last paragraph where it talked about adding 3 additional meetings. So is there a change now to the motion that you're perhaps looking at combining it into existing meetings? Think about that, and I'm going to go to Madam CAO on procedure because I've read this. It would need to be potentially amended, but please take it away.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So to the mover and the seconder, as Madam Mayor has mentioned, the motion is very clear that we are adding 3 meetings. Your dialogue is suggesting that perhaps additional meetings are not really what you think will achieve what you're looking for. So if you have an amendment to the motion, this would be appropriate time to bring that forward. If not, then we should be taking a vote on what's on the floor, and then we can open it up to council dialogue.
Good, thank you very much. Councillor Hamilton, please.
I'd prefer to leave it as is, and then in a separate time or a separate motion, we look at our calendar to adjust our current meetings. So whether we look at our summer calendar and find a council meeting that we remove, or as we did this year, we've removed a January and February council meeting. I think that's correct. We removed a couple of meetings anyway. I think this motion can stand as it is, that we have 3 committee of the whole meetings dedicated to updates, but we after this motion, we could look to reducing meetings outside of it.
Madam CAO.
So thank you, Councillor, and that is agreeable to Councillor Hutchinson, who seconded the motion.
Well, I have a concern that if we commit to 3 meetings, then we're saying that we're going to add 3 meetings.
Yeah.
Are we not? Regardless of whether we find space in other meetings, we're still committed to 3 meetings.
Through you, Madam Mayor, if this motion passes as written, that is correct. You would be adding 3 meetings to our schedule for 2020. However, you can still take a vote on the motion as stands and open it up for discussion.
Okay. So the motion is as it is at this point, correct? And then we'll see what happens. Councillor Herger.
Can I have a friendly amendment to the motion that would just say that we incorporate this into our meeting schedule? That, if we're having a committee of the whole in the morning, then the afternoon we could dedicate to our meetings for, an update for our board and so on, that we would just incorporate these 3 meetings into our schedule.
Let me go over to the mover and seconder and see if they perceive that as friendly. That's a little bit of dialogue there. Now, Councillor Hamilton, please.
Sure. I'm open to that, and I think that's more in keeping with Councillor Hutchinson was leaning towards too. So however we can move this forward, I'm most open to. Yeah.
Madam CEO, we take a wordsmithing attempt on that. So thank you, mover, seconder. Would that be agreeable?
I would like to see how it's worded, but it sounds like to me the way we're leaning now is we're going to basically just try to work it into the committee of the whole meetings or other committee meetings to get this on the agenda. We're not actually creating 3 more meetings. We're just extending maybe some of the other meetings.
Yeah, putting
So
in
we're
the
saying-
agenda, correct? That's the way I've taken it, so that's clarity on that. So hang on one second. Is that all you needed to say at this point? Thank you very much. So you have the floor again.
I was just going to caution us. I think we should try it once. I know that in previous councils, we had this as a half-day thing, and it got to be a long day. So
Yeah.
as we discover how much people will give, of a discussion, for their board or so on, we'll be able to realize what meeting 2 and 3 should look like. But I definitely think we need to make the time for this, and I support it as just incorporation.
Okay, so we've got a thumbs up over here. Madam CEO, would you read it now that it's been changed?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So I will read the entire motion, but please note that the change is really to the 4th paragraph. Whereas members of council are appointed to various committees and boards for which minutes are regularly received for information by council, whereas members of council are committed to open, transparent, and timely communication, whereas some members of council have expressed interest in having regular verbal reports and dialogue regarding committee and board activities, therefore be it resolved that Committee of the Whole meetings be incorporated into future 2020, I'm sorry, I didn't see the first part. Therefore be it resolved that incorporated into future 2020 Committee of the Whole meetings is the opportunity for updates regarding committee, board, Grey County, and conference updates. Okay. We'll fix that.
Good. Mover? Seconder? Okay, good. Any other comments or questions? Deputy Mayor, please.
Thank you, Mayor Robinson. I support the top 3. I was thinking maybe we should really think about going the other way because of the cost. Again, I was just wondering maybe we could get an analysis, if you will, what happened, what we did for our Committee of the Whole and the various committee meetings for 2019. Sorry for backing off that. I think we had quite a few meetings. Again, we had our vision and whatnot, but I'm just wondering, maybe we should do a little self-audit on how much money we actually went through in 2019. I feel we're probably over budget of what we had lots of stuff for a new council. I appreciate all that, but my guesstimates were probably $1,000 a meeting. I guess if you went the other way and we took some out, we could throw that wave maybe towards a new pickup truck or anything. I think there's ways that we can do this. But if we were to take our existing Committee of the Whole meetings that we have and allocate in those 1 hour for maybe a specific committee, there's no reason we can't plow through that. The other thing that I find is that our meetings are anything over 4 hours rolls into a full day, and I think we've gone into that several times, and it's a concern, in my opinion, that I think we need to respect that, we got 9 to 1, that's what we need to stick to, because it does roll into the next. So we're here for 8 hours, let's do an 8-hour meeting. That's how I'm looking at this, and I'm respecting everything else you have there. I think there's some savings on the table for what we are doing, Committee of the Whole and these other committees. And just talking about committees, I think there's a potential that maybe some of our actual committees could be amalgamated together and actually work together. They may enhance each other. I'm not going to say any specifically, but I think there's some savings here that we can do at this horseshoe and certainly pass it on, again, back to the taxpayer. Just if we come in and we're going to do 1 hour hypothetically on economic development, then we got 1 hour to discuss it, get it all out, all the questions. And I do want to say that all the meetings, all of them, are public and they are on the website, so all the minutes are there. And if you're really interested in a specific topic, whoever sits on that committee, I think would be more than willing to offer as much information. There's nothing hidden, everything's very transparent. So that's kind of where I'm sitting on this. I'd like to see us maybe trim back some of our meetings and see if we can get the budget of council wages back in line. Thank you.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're looking for a report really that talks about our committee status in terms of number of meetings. Is there an opportunity to merge some of the mandates? the costing associated with the meetings. Is that what you're looking for?
Thank you, yes, exactly, Mayor.
Okay, so I would look to our CAO to see whether that, are you looking for it to be merged into this or as a separate motion? And then I'd have to check with the mover and seconder, of course.
Well, yeah, that's the tricky part of it, because the motion on the table, so
Yeah.
just the third, well, I'm sorry, the fourth item is what I think is here, and then we have a friendly amendment.
Yeah.
So now we're getting to another amendment, if you will. It, I think, is what's compounding here, or
Okay, got it.
the CEO will have to help us with
Madam
what direction.
CAO.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So through the dialogue, I'm going to propose another, a little bit of fine tuning for that fourth paragraph. Something like, therefore be it resolved that for the purpose of committee, board, Grey County, and conference updates, that these be incorporated into periodic future 2020 Committee of the Whole meetings. My caution with that is it would be much clearer for staff if periodic's not a great word, because I don't really know how often you would like that incorporated. Another thing that I'd like to remind council is we are working on, or we will be working on a procedural bylaw review.
Yes.
So perhaps there's a way that we can achieve this through that formal process. So we could also take direction just to incorporate this into that review, and maybe that would, we could bring that back. But that would need to be another motion, and this motion would need to fail. So we need to deal with however you want to land with this particular motion.
Okay, so I'm going to go to the mover and seconder. Maybe contemplate the word periodic. Maybe you're, that was what I was going to suggest, quarterly. And, yeah. Anyway, mover of the motion, Councillor Hamilton.
I'd like to stand by the 3 a year, because we got a really good update at budget time, and then from all our committees. And then, so that works out to be about quarterly that we hear about our committees' activities. And I am staying on the path of a longer committee, the whole meeting, to accommodate for this time in this, for this. So we're not adding extra meetings. And that should assist Deputy Mayor's concern.
Okay. Seconder? You're fine.
Yes.
All right, so at this...
Where we're at right now. but-
And that's actually a very good question, because I am going to have our CAO read the motion, and I know you had your hand up. Okay. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we'll simplify. Therefore, be it resolved that for the purpose of committee, board, Grey County, and conference updates, that these updates be incorporated into 3 2020 Committee of the Whole meetings.
And that's notwithstanding the other paragraphs that were read.
Indeed.
Okay. Mover and seconder? Good. All right, I'm going over here to Councillor Townsend, then Councillor Herger.
Thank you for the lead-in, Deputy Mayor. It's good. It's along the same lines I was thinking. From a different perspective, when I was looking at the procedural bylaw, and we had a discussion about budget last time, it was around the same time.
Yes.
I actually went and had a look around at what other municipalities are doing. And some of them have actually gone to a full stipend and no meeting earn at all. In fact, 1 or 2 actually went to a penalty if you don't show up. So the penalty was you lose, not you gain by not showing up. But the issue is it gave you a consistent, predictable, and manageable budget. You didn't get into, you need a meeting, but you're hesitant to hold it because you're saying it's going to increase cost. So if you turn around and you say, whatever the number is, 10,000 is what you earn in a year, when you add up your meetings, then set your stipend at a number. I know we're doing a compensation review as well as part of our service review, and that's both for staff and council. So that might be a great opportunity. So if we were to separate the 2 tasks, do this for the meetings themselves, and separately as part of the service review, comp review, you actually looked at that as an option, and it means it does give us a very firm, solid amount, and we just work whatever hours we have to work to get the job done. And to me, that's a good alternative. It's a predictable alternative, and we can manage our budget accordingly.
So, Madam CEO, could we take that as part of a path forward when we do the review of service review?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we are awaiting grant confirmation, I'll be optimistic, for that review, which includes a wage review.
Okay, so we could fold that in potentially at that time? Okay, good. Thank you. Councillor Herger?
I think it is imperative that we have these meetings, to be honest. There are minutes in our agenda today. So today is February 18th. There's minutes in our agenda from November 22nd for the SMART group. Now, last meeting, we actually would have talked about our relationship with SMART and how that's affected and how that affects our budget right now. And actually, we haven't had an update until we get these minutes. So I actually feel that it is imperative that we have these meetings, and they do affect budget, and they affect how we're performing, how our other committees are relating to each other. So, information 4 months after the fact via minutes is actually totally unacceptable to me. So I would look forward to this meeting, and it might cost something, it might save us something. So
Good. Okay, anything further? All right, thank you for that. Madam CIO, would you read the entire motion before us?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So the motion that you will be voting on is as follows. Whereas members of council are appointed to various committees and boards from which minutes are regularly received for information by council, whereas members of council are committed to open, transparent, and timely communication, whereas some members of council have expressed interest in having regular verbal reports and dialogue regarding committee and board activities, therefore be it resolved that for the purpose of committee, board, Grey County, and conference updates, these updates be incorporated into 3 2020 Committee of the Whole meetings.
Okay, anything further? Deputy Mayor?
That's not 3 additional, it's incorporated into 3. Is that how I'm understanding that?
And thank you for the clarification, Deputy. We could amend this to say 3 scheduled 2020 or 3 existing.
Mover, seconder?
Sounds great. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. All right, on clarity. Good. Anything further? Does nobody need the motion read again? Good. On the motion, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Thank you. Good discussion. Thank you. Sign that one. Now, we do have one other item for new business that was brought over from our consent agenda. I'm going to be looking for a 2/3 vote, and then if it does carry, then we will deal with this over in item 17. So this is the item that Councillor Hamilton requested to be pulled over. This is for the proclamation of April 2nd, 2020 as World Autism Awareness Day, and also the flag raising for the Autism Ontario flag, noon on April 2nd. On that, 2/3 vote to deal with this as a direct motion. All those in favor? 2, 3. We've achieved the 2/3 carried. Madam CIO? Good, thank you. All right, is there any other new business? All right, thank you. There are no addendums, Madam CIO?
Correct?
We are now on item 7, which 17, notice of motion or direct motion. So the one I have before me is moved by Councillor Hutchinson, seconded by Councillor Hamilton. Be it resolved that Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby proclaims April 2nd, 2020 as World Autism Awareness Day and authorizes the raising of the Autism Ontario flag at the West Grey Municipal Office at noon on April 2nd, 2020. Comments, questions? Councillor Hergert.
do we have a flag raising policy yet, or was this going to be a budget item for this year that we were talking about, another flagpole?
Administrative question, Madam CIO.
Through Madam Mayor, we do not have a flag protocol as of yet. I know the clerk is researching other municipal examples. The community flagpole was not captured in this 2020 budget.
Okay, further? Further questions? No? On the motion, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carries. Okay, thank you. Any other notice of motion or direct motions? Thank you. Item 18, closed session, incomplete items only. That is an NA. Item 19, matters arising from closed session, incomplete items only. That will be an NA. Item 20, question period. Members of the audience, are there any questions? Thank you very much. Oh, Mr. Crosby. Where's the notice? Oh, we need to. We're fine. Oh, we're down here.
I make an announcement? No?
Can you go to the mic?
Mr. Crosby, could you please go to the mic because we want to make sure this is captured on our YouTube. So would you mind, please? This is for the budget, right?
Yes, and what we'll do next, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. It's the gray button on the right-hand side. Thank you. Well, it was on. Could you just attempt to press it again? Okay, thank you, Adam. Yeah, potentially. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Well, at the beginning of the meeting, I heard that you had received a grant for a bridge. And I didn't catch what the grant was, how much it was for, and for which bridge.
Okay. Was that, Madam CEO, with regard to the...
I know which one.
Oh, please go ahead.
Yeah, I do know which one he's referring to. Someone made a comment, but so that we received provincial approval on the Lance Bridge 28, Structure 28. We are waiting federal approval on that. It was 435 or 485, something like that, for the provincial amount, but we haven't heard from on the federal portion of that. It's a shared project.
Okay. Thank you very much, and appreciate that you went to the podium on that. Further questions? Okay. Thank you. So we are now on item 21, municipal act notices. So we do have one. We have Councillor Hutchinson that has a question. I think what we'll do, Councillor Hutchinson, we'll just have this read into the record, and then I will go to you first. Okay? Thank you. Madam CAO.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Yep.
Notice is hereby given that the Municipality of West Grey Council will consider passing the 2020 Municipality of West Grey budget during the March 3, 2020 council meeting. A public meeting will be held at 10:15 a.m. during the March 3, 2020 council meeting, and the budget bylaw will also be placed on the March 3, 2020 council meeting agenda for consideration for approval.
Councillor Hutchinson, please.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to rescind the budget meeting of March 3rd and defer it to a later date.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Deputy Mayor, I had a couple choices there. So any comments or questions on this? Councillor Townsend.
The notice says 7:15, and you changed that to 10:15?
Madam CAO.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm reading from my agenda, but I noted that as I was saying the words, it would have been in the evening if we were having that
Right.
meeting.
Okay.
Yes,
Good.
thank you.
Good clarification.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hutchinson, please.
Yeah, I just like to make comment that we've spent a fair bit of time talking about budget, and I still feel that we need to do some work to get it down to where it's an acceptable number according to my feelings anyway. So we are going to, if we vote for it, we are going to take a look at maybe revisiting it one more time and see if we can bring the number down to a more acceptable level, I believe.
Thank you very much for that. I am also just going to ask Madam CAO, I want to ensure, we all want to ensure that citizens have an opportunity to participate if they so wish in the budget process, certainly as they hear where we're going for the percentages and just be part of our budget deliberation. Could you please comment on that?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. All of our budget meetings are public meetings, so when the agenda is published, the public is more than welcome to attend. The notice of the passing of the bylaw actually gives us an additional opportunity for the public because specific time is set aside to ask questions of council. But I echo your sentiment that we encourage the public to come out to the committee meetings where we are discussing the budget just for the exposure and to learn. And then once we schedule the next meeting, we'll certainly make sure that it's promoted through all of our channels.
Yes, so when we have that notification, we will communicate that out. Thank you very much. Deputy Mayor, please.
Just a general question for my own clarity. I believe we flip-flopped committee of the whole and council to accommodate this.
Yes, we did.
So are we going back now to where we were, or are we leaving it how it is? Like, just so I know what's coming when. Thank you.
So, good question. We do have committee of the whole first now, and then we have the council meeting. I would, rather than use the word flip-flop, I would say that we've rescheduled those meetings. So I would say that, Madam CEO, do you think there's merit in leaving the schedule the way it is because we still have to confirm what meeting we will, the meeting date and time for this additional budget meeting.
Through you, Madam Mayor, thank you, Deputy. That is correct. We have adjusted that March 3rd schedule. I'm looking to our committee administrator. Ms. Glazier, has those dates, that has been advertised of the change in the schedule? And if so, I would propose we leave it the way that it is with the Committee of the Whole in the daytime and the council meeting in the evening.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor, it has been advertised on the website.
Okay. So we will determine a meeting date for this budget, but just not at this meeting here, but we will get that determined and then communicate out. Deputy Mayor, is that fine then? Okay. Anything further? Councillor Hamilton, please.
So in considering the dates moving forward for this budget process, could staff also consider having that public meeting at a separate, like ahead of the meeting where we would ratify the budget? So currently, the public meeting would happen, say, at 7:15, and then that night we would ratify. Is there a way that we could have a public meeting and then have a week or two space before we ratify as council? So that when public come and ask questions, we do have time and space to consider the feedback that we're receiving. Is that something staff could consider in the budget dates moving forward?
Yeah, I think that's really important. That's what I was getting at as well. The idea of giving our citizens, our business people, anybody that wants to not only participate in the budget, but become very familiar with it. So I'm looking to Madam CAO, but also to Director Mighton, that we could do the separation of, and put a bit of time in there that citizens can take a look at the budget before we actually
That's entirely at your discretion.
Perfect. So there's nothing constraining us within the time frame. We have that opportunity to do that as well. Okay, so we could just factor that into the meeting schedule then. Okay, so unless there's any other questions, I'm going to say thank you very much for bringing that forward. Councillor Hutchinson, we do need to vote on this, but I would like Madam CAO just to read that motion for clarity. Administrative Assistant Glazier, please.
So moved by Councillor Hutchinson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hutchinson. Be it resolved that the Municipality of West Grey hereby rescind the notice given by the Municipality of West Grey Council to consider passing the 2020 Municipality of West Grey budget during the March 3rd, 2020 council meeting and defer it to a future date.
Yeah, and we'll get that communicated out. All right. I'm going to call the motion then. On the motion, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Thank you. Well, I'm looking for one final motion on item 22. That would be for the adjournment. Councillor Herger and Councillor Townsend. On the motion to adjourn, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Thank you very much. A very well done meeting.